views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Hello, welcome back to Moms for Justice. I am Carolyn. How are you guys today? Give us a thumbs up on this video right now. I've got something really good for you. So check it out. So two women already live inside Florida's most dangerous prison, Sarah Boone and Katherine Magbanua, and then a third may, and I'm going to stress the word may. She may soon join them. 76-year-old Donna Adelson. So after her recent conviction, Donna is being processed through the State Women's Reception Center. Okay, and I think everybody has heard of that. Oh, thank you for the super sticker, Peter. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Fan character laughing out loud with tears in their eyes. Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining me today. Okay, so this reception center is just miles from the infamous Lowell Correctional Institution near Ocala. Okay, and this is a facility long haunted by scandal, everybody, like overcrowding and abuse. We're going to get into that. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the inside of Lowell Correctional Institution so you can just get an idea of what these ladies are going to be dealing with. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. So anyway, if Donna is placed there, she'll enter the same world of Boone and Magbanua and how they spend their days. Now, we do know that Judge Everett was asked not to place Donna in the same institution as Magbanua, and so I'm acknowledging that. However, the Lowell Correctional Institution is not just one facility. It's like 3, okay? And I'm going to get into that. So maybe that would count as them not really being together because they would never see each other if they were separated in these 2 sections of Lowell Institution. So I'll get into that. But anyway, guys, this prison is the slum of the earth, okay? So sweltering heat, limited medical care, and a reputation for brutal abuse is going on in that prison. And it's been documented. There's been issues as recently as just in the last 5 years. So it's going to be interesting to go into some of that. Anyway, we're going to look inside that world today and what life would be like for these women at Lowell. And it is known as one of the most dangerous prisons in all of America. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. Most of you guys know a lot of this information, but if there's anybody new on here, we'll be able to follow along. So Donna Adelson, 76 years old, sentenced to life in prison for orchestrating the murder of Dan Markell, her former son-in-law. Okay, this exposed a chilling family conspiracy that involved Katherine Magbanua, former girlfriend of Donna's son, Charlie Adelson, and she is already serving life and is definitely at the Lowell Correctional Institution for her role in the same murder for hire plot. Now, Sarah Boone, maybe some of you are just follow the Adelsons, don't know anything about Sarah Boone, but if you don't, she was sentenced to life in December 2014. I did follow a little bit of her case a while back when my channel first started. But anyway, she is serving time for zipping her boyfriend, George Torres Jr., inside a suitcase and leaving him to suffocate to death. And she is also housed at Lowell Corrections Institution. So now all 3 women are possibly, if Donna ends up going there, will be connected by fate and location, right? So again, the most notorious, awful prison. It's up there, guys. It's really bad. So I wanted to go into a little bit of what life is like at that prison. I know I talked a little bit about what it's like to hang out at Leon County Jail when you're awaiting trial. And guys, it is like a luxury resort at Leon County Jail compared to this place. And most jails where it's like a rest stop on your way to where you're going to eventually end up, right? So, but I'm going to go into a little bit about what I've researched about what it's like over at Lowell Corrections Institute. So it's located in Marion County near Ocala, Florida's largest and oldest state prison for women. It opened in 1956 as the state's first women's correctional facility and has expanded over the decades into a vast complex. So let's go into this. So there is a main unit, okay, where the majority of people are housed. And then there's a Lowell annex. It's called an annex. And then there's a work camp on that same campus. So together, these facilities, they house roughly 3,000 inmates. And that makes Lowell one of the largest prisons in the United States. So the main unit is referred to as Lowell Correctional Institution. Oh, I'm just like blah today. My speech is off, so I apologize. It houses inmates across multiple custody levels, and the annex contains higher security prisoners, women in close management, and Florida's female death row. So the annex alone has an official capacity of about 1,248 inmates, and it has at times been overcrowded, okay, with more than 1,400 women held there just in 2023. So though it has at times been overcrowded, there is also a nearby work camp that houses lower security offenders, and they are allowed to have prison jobs, and that's why they call it the work camp. So all new female inmates, though, in Florida first arrive at a Florida's Women's Reception Center, and that is where Donna was moved on the 14th, we believe. This is located just adjacent to the Lowell complex, and they are processed and classified before being assigned, okay, to their permanent placement. So I have reason to believe that she will end up being at the Lowell Correctional Institution. I'm saying it okay. But yes, all Florida women do end up getting checked in and processed through the Florida Women's Reception Center. Okay, so collectively, the Lowell system serves as the primary hub for the female prison population, holding everyone from nonviolent offenders to the most high profile. So Katie Magbanua, now that I've said all that, she is in the annex with the high profile, the death row inmates, which I was surprised because I don't really see her as being a very aggressive person or anybody that should be high risk for being a problem. But I think it's, if anything at all, she's probably there because of the notoriety of who she is. So yeah, so that's that. And Sarah Boone is also in the annex. So do they see each other? Maybe. And I would be, you know what? I'd probably be more terrified to go to the Lowell, I'm just going to say Lowell prison because I'm so tired of saying, like, it's a mumble jumble of words for me. So the Lowell prison, I'd probably be more afraid of Sarah Boone than I would to be in that prison. But you guys can make the determination on that when we're done talking, because you're going to hear a lot of really bad stuff about the Lowell prison. It's horrible. Okay. And then on October 14th, Donna is like right up the road at this central intake place, the Florida Central Intake Reception Center. So at the reception center, inmates are photographed, fingerprinted, medically screened, and mentally evaluated before completing an orientation and classification to determine their security level. their housing placement, and all their medical needs. So they typically remain there for about 2 to 6 weeks. So I don't think we will hear about her final placement until 2 to 6 weeks. And depending on processing delays, health evaluations, and we all know she's got a lot going on in the health department, Miss Donna. Afterwards, she will be assigned to her permanent home. Now, there are other correctional institutions she could be sent to if it's not Lowell. I do think she will end up in Lowell, but there's Homestead Correctional, Hernando Correctional, Gadsden Correctional, and there are smaller work camps and reentry centers across the state, but there's no way she's going to any of those. So I do think it's going to be Lowell for her. You guys let me know what you guys think. Okay, so the daily routines and life behind bars, and then I will show you guys some clips of inside and some nefarious things that went on at Lowell. I have like a 10-minute presentation I can show you. So I will do that after I explain some of this. By the way, make sure you guys are liking this video. I do appreciate it. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to go into a small segment on Arturo Gotti Jr. Because my niece was not able to go on last night. She needs a little more time. I will go into that story, but I will not do that until the end. Okay? Okay. Lowell Correctional Institution. All right. So each day begins at 5:30 a.m. Okay? Lights go on, and then there's a head count. Breakfast follows in the dining hall. They get things like eggs, oatmeal, bread, that kind of stuff. Before inmates report to assigned jobs, classes, or programs, all that is done there, okay? Then many work in the laundry, kitchen, or maintenance, and others attend GED, religious, or rehab programs. Most inmates get about 1 to 2 hours of outdoor recreation a week, not per day, a week. And then there is a formal count happens late in the morning before lunch, and food is very basic, people. And we all know it's crap food, the kind of food that you would skip a meal because it looks that gross, right? So Donna and Katie and Sarah, depending on what they tolerate, is probably not going to like the food very much. By the way, give a thumbs up to our moderators that are on today. I know Clarissa's on today. Rich is on today. I'll let you know if I see someone else that is on here today moderating. But I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so in the afternoon, they do another head count. There's head counts going on at all times, right? Limited free time for showers, phone calls, or writing letters. Dinner is served early, typically around 4 or 5 o'clock. I mean, talk about going to bed hungry, right? And may come as a cold supper bag in some of the dorms. The evening includes another count and then short programs like chapel or recovery meetings, followed by lockdown, which is at 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I assume a lot of people got like hours at night to read, look at the ceiling, and think about what a terrible person you are. I would imagine that Donna is struggling big time. We already know there's reports of her crying. She is carrying on, mumbling. I can't believe this happened to me, and I'm sure stewing over what has happened here. And the same goes for Charlie. The same goes for probably Katie. But I know that Charlie and Donna are probably struggling the most because they came from a different place than Katie and Sigfredo and Louis did. I mean, those guys had it rough growing up, those three. So, I would think that because Charlie and Donna had such a good life, they lived a privileged life, they came from money, that it's much harder for them to be in prison right now and, face what they did. I think it's enough though, guys, where one of these two could, make that call to their attorney and say, I need to talk to you. Arrange for the attorney to show up and let's have a talk about what I can do to get lesser time. And what would that involve? That would involve talking about things that they never thought they would, that they would implicate their daughter and sister, Wendy Adelson, right? Just, you know what? The worse the prison is, the more it's going to entice them to do this, okay? I'll get into a little bit more about that, but I want to finish my little segment here on the Lowell Correctional Institution, okay? Let's finish that, and I'll show the video, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Wendy, and then I'll wrap it up with the death of Arturo Gatti Jr. So, all right, so this routine that I just talked about, it's very identical to what goes on in the annex as well, but they do enforce tighter movement and confinement at the annex. Most housing areas lack air conditioning. The summers are brutal. They're very harsh, okay? And supplies like soap and toilet paper are very limited. And if you run out, you're on your own. And it's not like you can go pick a leaf, okay, to go wipe yourself with. It's not happening. So they have limited supplies. When they get used up, you are on your own and you have to wait for them to restock. So despite this, many inmates adapt, though, through personal routines, cleaning, reading, exercising quietly in their dorms. They cope with life, you know, inside this horrendous prison as best they can. So one thing I will say is, so some of the women are describing the suffocating heat, and the ventilation is really bad, and limited access to fans, and even the water is not cold. Like, it's like room temperature or warm. They can't even cool themselves off with cold water. So, you know, I'm sure they're like, oh, I can't wait to get to my shower time. But then they get in the shower and the water is just warm because, you know, they don't have cold water. It's just so hot. And think of the pipes running in that place, right? Getting the temperature of water to be even from one side of the prison to the other is not going to happen, okay, with all the pipes. And there's no relief at all. The suffering is endless in this place. Sanitation supplies are scarce. They'll receive a very tiny, small bar of soap each week, inadequate amount of toilet paper, as I said, and very few cleaning materials, okay? So during the COVID-19 pandemic, new arrivals were often not even tested for like diseases or like, you know, conditions. And they weren't isolated either. They were not isolated, and medical sick calls would take weeks to be answered from this place, okay? The Department of Justice 2020 investigation confirmed that there were serious failures in the health and safety practices at this prison. They found that women were left without timely medical care, and they were often too afraid to report any abuse or neglect, which is going to lead me into that in a minute. The mental health care is limited and inconsistent. Lowell houses inmates across all psychiatric grades, including those in inpatient units, yet chronic staff shortages make regular counseling availability very difficult. Medical and mental health delays have forced inmates to rely on each other for help when staff are unavailable. Now, I imagine this is where Donna's going to shine, right? Donna, we all heard about Donna mentoring and being like a loving grandmotherly type to Drina Bernhardt. So she will probably be the rock for a lot of women that are in this prison. So it's definitely an area I think she will do well in. And Sarah Boone, forget it. Like, Sarah Boone's off her rocker, and I doubt anybody's trying to help her because she's probably like very difficult to get along with. I mean, we all saw Sarah Boone, right, when she was on the stand, and when she has spoken out. I mean, she's just, something is seriously wrong with that woman, and she greatly needs mental health care. And if this is the prison she's at, she's not going to be getting it. Okay. So, all right. So, all right. The reputation for abuse, guys, it's among the worst in the nation here. Okay. 2020 DOJ report described severe and prevalent sexual abuse by the correctional staff here. Officers were found to have raped, groped, or coerced women in sex acts. It has one of the most disturbing reputations of any women's prison. And let me give you an example of what I found in terms of abuse by staff. So we've got an inmate by the name of Latondra Ellington. She was found dead just days after reporting that a guard had threatened her life, and an independent autopsy revealed blunt force trauma to her abdomen, and she died. And, not much was done about it, okay? In 2019, there was an inmate there, and this is pretty recent. 2019 is not long ago. Cheryl Weimar was brutally beaten by four guards there, leaving her paralyzed, and a case that led to multi-million-dollar settlements with the state. So these incidents, along with decades of overcrowding, understaffing, and neglect, have made it, a symbol of systemic abuse and human rights failures within the Florida prison system. So it's pretty bad, guys. And these women, they talk about this. They talk about how horrible it is there. And I'm going to show you guys a video right now. And then we'll go into a little bit about Donna a little bit more, and some more about Miss Wendy Adelson, who we're all waiting for. And I got a new theory about Wendy. So we will definitely talk about that. So take a listen, guys.
Lowell Correctional Facility, it's legal prostitution. It's like a brothel. It's like a predator's playground.
We're prey. It's like a lion with a bunch of gazelles. I mean, it's a perfect breeding ground for sexual predators.
There's a lot of hatred in this prison, and it's not the inmates, it's the staff.
Behind the razor wire fences of the nation's largest women's prison, complaints of rampant sexual, physical, and mental abuse are frequently reported by inmates against the very corrections officers put in place to guard them.
My first time in prison at Lowell, it was pretty corrupt. It was pretty dirty. My second time, it took it to a whole nother level. Sex with officers, harassment with officers, officers pushing up on you, officers touching you. I got to a point to where I was so fed up of having to flirt with officers and play with officers and have sex with officers and do sexual favors for officers just so I could survive in prison. I started to tell.
Crystal Harper says that one of the officials that she reported to a prison investigator was the assistant warden, Marty Martinez.
I had put on a show for him in the dorm, and I did what he wanted me to do. And he told me that he was going to give me $150, and he didn't. And so then when I started to tell what had happened, I told her about me playing with myself for him. I told her about the other girls that were involved with him. I told him about his long talks, how you can get anybody moved. If you were ugly and you needed to talk to the warden about something that was probably serious or something that you needed or whatever, you needed to go find a pretty girl to do it. Don't even come talk to him if you're ugly.
Harper was moved to Homestead Correctional to finish out her sentence. Assistant Warden Martinez, known to many of the female inmates as Marty and Daddy, was fired amid allegations of misconduct with inmates. When reached by phone and asked about the allegations, Martinez declined to comment. Former inmate Ginger Ullman said the frequent and illegal sexual relationships with officers at Lowell developed mainly as a form of exchange for contraband, like cigarettes, which can be worth over $400 a pack behind bars.
They do you favors, they bring you in things. They'll go home and they'll wire your family money. It's more bringing in things, perfume, lipstick, a pack of cigarettes, and they're laughing their ass off the whole time. Oh, this chick just gave me fellatio for a pack of cigarettes, cost me $3. And then we're in the dorm laughing at him. Oh, all I had to do was 2 minutes. He's disgusting. And then I got $400. But like I said, it's a lose-lose situation for anybody involved in that. And then once you want to stop, you can't. Until he's done with you, you don't stop.
Facing hundreds of serious complaints ranging from abuse, deaths, dorms filled with mold and vermin, and retaliation for reporting abuse, a new warden, Angela Gordon, was brought in to run the prison in March.
A female.
Started walking around and meeting the staff and looking at what they were doing and how they were doing it. And I found that just like every other place I've worked, there's a lot of good people here doing a lot of good things. Do we have bad apples? I'm sure we do. Every organization does. But the thing is, myself and my administration here in the department as a whole, we were stressing that that's not something that we're going to tolerate. If we find that a staff is doing something wrong, we're reporting it, we're letting it go through the process, and if it's determined that they are doing something, then we're utilizing the discipline process just as swiftly as we can to take care of that, up to and including termination in some cases.
If you want to believe that, go ahead. I don't live in fantasy land. I wouldn't say that there's only a few bad apples, because the majority of them. The new norm is constant threats. Do you want to eat dirt? You want to get sprayed? And you're an effing this and an effing that and an effing retard, and it goes on and on. And it's not getting any better.
It doesn't matter how many people you put in admin, you can rotate it, you can fire, you can put new. It's still going to be the same on this compound. You got to take this place and shake it upside down and start brand new, or bring the feds in. The feds are the only ones that are going to shake this place up and make it run right.
In 2006, the FDC hired an independent company to study prison operations and report on what needed fixing. The report that was issued focused on Lowell more than any other prison. It zeroed in on serious problems with staff offender sexual relations, unprofessional and demeaning interaction between staff and inmates, poor quality medical care, and an unusually high number of inmates on psychotropic medications. Recommendations were offered for making things right. Some inmates and staff say, and records suggest, the conditions may have worsened.
The staff at Lowell, there's at least 40% that are corrupt, that are not doing the right thing.
There you go.
Baron Bergner transferred as a corrections officer from Madison Correctional to Lowell in 2009 and moved up the ranks to become a sergeant in 2012.
Some of the corruption goes on from sex, drugs, money. There was just all kinds of corruption at Lowell. In June, while I was out for surgery, I decided that it was time for myself to leave Lowell because I was tired of seeing all the corruption. I was tired of dealing with it, telling supervisors every day and day and night that there's dirty staff at Lowell and that they're not doing anything about it.
I believe that guy.
A frequent complaint by current and former inmates alike is the lack of proper medical care at the prison. Tanya Yelvington spent 16 years at Lowell for a DUI manslaughter charge, a sentence that she says nearly cost her her life due to inadequate medical treatment in prison.
It's just totally inhumane. If you don't have a family member to fight your battles for you, you will die in the Department of Corrections because there is no medical. They do the least as possible. They will go to the lengths of letting you die or misdiagnose you to save the state money. In 2008, I felt a lump in my right breast. I went to medical, and because of my family history of breast cancer, I automatically wanted to have the biopsy. I felt the lump there. I had the lump 14 months before I ever got a biopsy. 14 months, and it went from a pea size to a golf ball size. It went from a 1 centimeter to a 2.5 centimeter, and it left my breast and went to my lymph nodes. He says, depending on treatment, you'll have 3 to 5 years to live. I'm sorry for that, having to tell you that, Ms. Yelvington.
Yelvington had a double mastectomy while serving her time that left her horribly mutilated. She says that while recovering from the surgery, she contracted an infection that nearly killed her.
Third world countries get better medical than we get. There is no medical. There is none, and there never will be, because we're just a number to society.
Crazy.
At least half of my complaints are medical related. Anything from inadequate care to not getting their medication in a timely manner. For the most part, you know, through our grievance process, everything that I see, very few of them are actually found to be legitimate. And in the issues that I've had the families come to me with, when I go back to my medical department, I look and they list for me everything that's been done. They're doing their jobs. It may not be exactly what the inmate thinks that they should be getting, but the inmates are receiving care for the most part.
Gordon believes the medical and abuse complaints don't give the full picture of Lowell, and that the rules and structure put in place are important for the inmates and staff alike.
They're here because they broke the rules in the free world. And if they continue to come into the prison system and be allowed to continue to break the rules, they haven't learned anything. So yes, we do have a discipline process. Yes, we enforce the rules. Is it a hellhole? Is it the worst thing in the world? No, ma'am. It is not in any way.
Just because you make a bad choice or a bad decision or whatever it is that puts you in prison, it doesn't mean that you're an animal. It doesn't mean that you can't be treated humane. It doesn't mean that you're a piece of meat. What needs to happen is that even if you go to prison, whatever your reason is, that you're going to be okay while you're in there and you have the chance to get out and be okay.
It's so corrupt and on such a large scale. I don't know if it's fixable. In all honesty, I don't know if there's a way to eliminate it.
I wish it would change for the staff and for the inmates, but honestly, I just don't see it in the near future. I think it's going to take a lot to change it.
Because it's a cesspool of inhumanity. And how they can lay their head down at night and sleep knowing that this is going on. I don't know how they do it. How do you do that? How? I don't understand.
Okay, so guys, prison is not supposed to be a lovely place. When you commit a crime, you should be sent to a not very nice place for the rest of your life and suffer. However, that does not mean that it's okay to rape women. That does not mean that it's okay to mistreat them in an inhumane manner. Okay? I am not for that. I am not for that at all. That is disgusting and it is awful. And I don't care who the prisoner is. Okay? I don't care. You don't rape women and use them and abuse them and beat them and all that. It's just inhumane. So, but should they live in, a lap of luxury? No, they should have no air conditioning. They should have crappy food. They should have, look what you did. There's a reason, but there's a difference between having consequences for the crime you've committed and pure torture. Really? We're Americans. This is 2025. It's not okay to do that. So there's that. What I did think, though, was that, wow, what if they arrested Wendy and she goes to this place? She is not your typical female inmate in this place. If she ends up going there, if she gets arrested and she is sent here, I'm like, wow, like this, she is like, she's like caviar, compared to some of the women that end up in there. She's going to be a target. She's going to be a target. And listen, this is still going on there. It's still going on there. They said here that in 2022, that they had removed just before 2022, they removed abusive staff and added cameras. But advocates and former inmates after 2022 were still saying that abuse and retaliation persisted and continued on. So it's still a problem over there. It really is. But yeah, Wendy Adelson would not do well there at all. I know some of you have been like, she's not so great. She's not so beautiful. She's not, and maybe not as much as she used to be, but come on. with what we're talking about here. She is considered filet mignon at that prison. And these guards would have a field day with her if this is what's going on in the prison. It's terrible. And Katie Magbanua, you know, she's young. She's not a bad looking woman. I could see her being a target, you know. But Wendy, gosh, Wendy's in serious trouble if she ends up over there, you know. So, oh, okay. I'm going to take a few comments because I see a couple things here I want to point out. But now Sarah Boone is probably nobody wants Sarah Boone. And, you know, somebody made a comment before here that they didn't think Donna would be bothered. You're right. I don't think Donna will be bothered. I think Donna is safer than all three of those women. I think Sarah Boone could get physical, you know, abuse, you know, maybe get beaten or whatever because of her mouth. And Katie Magbanua, unfortunately, could be subjected to sexual assault. Donna? Nah, I don't think anybody's going to bother with Donna. But if Wendy goes, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. So, J Bone says Wendy might wear the guards down. Now that's interesting because, yeah, she is also extremely intelligent woman and knows how to play games, as we all know. Could she maybe like swoon her way with these guards? Could she maybe find, I don't know, guys. If they want a piece of Wendy, they're going to take it, you know? Okay, so has she really changed her name? So the word is out that Wendy has changed her name to Jill Estrada. I'm going to say yes and no to that question. And the reason why is because it is one of her alias names that is in public record. Is she frequently going by the name Jill Estrada everywhere she goes? I don't know that for sure. I haven't confirmed that, but there is a rumor going around that she's going by the name Jill Estrada. She lived in a home in Texas that is up for rent also. Somebody might have secured that rental. Are they connected to Wendy? I don't know. I don't know for sure. I cannot get a confirmation of that right now. Sarah Boone is loving it. Yeah, I think Sarah Boone is just completely come to terms with that. She's not going anywhere. This is her new home for life and everything. I think Donna still has high hopes that she will find a way to get out. And I really do think that now added just how bad this prison is, along with their own personal feelings about Wendy, like Donna and Charlie. Wendy never visiting Charlie, never calling when he was arrested, her never visiting him, her cutting off Donna completely. I think those all create resentment and anger. And then you think about where they are right now, not they, but where Donna is possibly going to end up, maybe at a place like Lowell. But any prison is garbage, right? Any prison is going to be horrible. I mean, this one is really the worst for these women. But any prison is going to be horrible. And poor Charlie, well, not poor Charlie, but, you know, because I always have a little bit of sympathy for Charlie. I feel like, you know, yeah, he deserves to be where he is. And he's, you know, an awful human being for what he did. But I have a little sympathy for Charlie because I do think he was used by Donna. So with that said, poor Charlie has had to like maneuver to different prisons because of his connection with the Latin Kings and how he is being targeted. And I also think he's getting very institutionalized now, as we all have seen recently in footage of him with, you know, outbursts of anger while he is dealing with the guards. We saw him on the back of that truck being transported, eating the Wendy's, and he looked like a ravenous animal eating Wendy's in the back of that truck. And he looked like he had settled in quite nicely with the way things are supposed to go. And him and Donna, all of that combined, everything I just said in the last 3 minutes, and a lot of time to think about it, right? They've got a lot of time to sit there and let it stew. I just think one of them is going to talk. I really do. I mean, you can even go ahead and tell everybody, Moms for Justice predicts that one of those two is going to talk at some point. So, with that said, I have something I want to say. And one of my viewers came on and commented on something that I was exactly thinking. And I didn't get a chance to say it, but it's so I'm gonna say that it's my idea, but it's also this other viewer's idea that's on Moms for Justice. She's subscribed, and she brought up something really interesting, and I feel the same way too. So I really do think that Wendy will get arrested, and the point that was made that supports this is, so you've got the attorney for Dan Markel, who has this bombshell information about the fact that there was going to be filings done on the 18th of the very day of the murder. There was going to be these filings, and that was going to have fraud charges against Wendy and her attorney. And how that is just not a coincidence, folks. It's just not. So that was evidence. They had a concrete witness that could have gotten on the stand and told this story, and she didn't use him. Well, there's no way that this story is over with and you didn't utilize her attorney, his attorney. Like, well, maybe they wanted to save him. And then there's also, it was pointed out, Sarah Youssef, her deposition has a lot to say, not only just about Donna, but about her dealings with Wendy and the email from Wendy about asking for support. And Sarah backed off and said, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. Nobody called Sarah. Why? How are you going to let this story end and not let those two people be heard? Right? And there's a series of others too, but it just strengthens it for me that there's things that have not been told in front of a court of law yet that are so important in proving Wendy's involvement in this whole saga. And I don't know, what do you guys think? I just think, yeah. Hi, Lori. Thank you for joining us. I so appreciate it. I think one of them will talk as well, Jane. Yeah, so, and there's a lot of people here that could talk, guys. Think of the people that have disappeared, that have not come forward with anything, unless they have talked to Georgia and Georgia hasn't released it to us. But let's think about them all, okay? So you've got his attorney. You've got Sarah Youssef. Where did Jane go? Jane McPherson disappeared. Any one of these people can crack. You just need one, right? Then you've got Ritu Guy and Janine Silberman. How come they never called Tamara? Tamara Demko was never called. She is going to be a wealth of information, and it was never used, which makes me think all these people are being saved for Wendy. The guy that was on the phone call with her, okay, I talked about him. And also, there's others. I'm just blanking out right now. I mean, they really only needed Jeff and Louis Rivera. And Robert Adelson for Donna. I mean, it was such a slam dunk case that why utilize these other ones and let Wendy know what the testimony would be ahead of time? I mean, that would be why it would save them for Wendy's, because if Georgia had utilized all these other people, Wendy would have had knowledge of what they were going to say and probably what they would say in her trial if she was ever arrested. So it was better to keep them quiet, I think. Okay, so what about Harvey? Will he be arrested before he drops dead? Okay, so I think that originally, get this, I think originally they were never going to charge Harvey. But I think after he spoke in court at Donna's sentencing, they're going to make a point of holding him for something. Maybe they won't get him on anything major, but they're going to go after him. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to go after him. After what he said and the insults to Phil and Ruth Markel, there's just no way that they're just going to let him off scot-free. Jennifer Ray, Sarah, Jeff, Tamara, Robert, Greenbergs. Yeah, Greenbergs are great. Stephen Webster. I don't think Amy Adler will ever get called because a lot of what Dan said to her, I think, could be classified as hearsay. But, you know, unless there's some sort of like bombshell, like I know Wendy went to the door to pick up her kids one day and Amy was at the door. I don't think there's anything from there that she could have gotten, but I just don't. And Amy's scared and Amy doesn't want to be involved. And I think she would maybe, you know, do everything she could to not be called. And I don't blame her. Do you think they have waited on prosecuting Wendy so that the boys could be older? I do not. You know why? Because Katie Magbanua has children, Sigfredo has children, and Charlie has a son, Roman, and they didn't have like this conviction to not indict them because they had children. So why would they do that for Wendy? And if anything, the Markels are not getting any younger. And the Markels have waited way too long. If anything, it should be the opposite, that they should be going after Wendy as quick as possible. Yeah. So, do you guys remember, let's see. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. By the way, guys, membership is open for Moms for Justice now. There's a silver and gold. When I release videos, some of them will be for members only, either indefinitely or it'll be like a preview to the video I put up where only members see it for a short time or for a month, and then I'll release it later to the public. But I'm also going to be doing shorts on there and other good stuff. But then you got the badges and all that. So if you guys are interested in membership to Moms for Justice, there's a join button right on the bottom. And you can just go ahead and join monthly. You can cancel at any time, whatever. You don't have to do it. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. And I do have a video coming up on Wendy and the Owl. It is going to be different than a lot of the videos that people have seen about Wendy and the Owl. I know there's some videos out there from Grish and from Jackie St. Germain, and there's a few others that have talked about the Owl, and I have come up with a little different theory about the Owl. It'll probably go against the grain on what you heard, but that's just based on what I researched and what I found. So I will have that video up soon, and that should be lots of fun. I might do members only on that for a little while and then release it to the public later. Okay, so do you guys remember that I talked to you about Arturo Gotti Jr.? My niece, Sophia, is the daughter of Arturo Thunder Gotti. He was a famous boxer that died back in 2009. And he had a son by a different woman. Okay, so Sophia's mother is my sister-in-law by marriage, and she's an amazing person, amazing mother, and thankfully has protected my niece throughout this whole thing. But do you guys remember that I kind of gave you a little preview that there's this case going on, and Sophia was going to be interviewed by me last night? Well, I canceled it because Sophia, she just felt that she wasn't ready to do that yet. But guys, this is going to end up being a murder case, a second murder case. No joke. So let me put this up for you. She does have a GoFundMe to try to arrange to transport his body, but I'm going to go through the whole story with you guys right now. But yeah, so
I went to see her on September the 14th.
let me turn that off right there. Hold on. Okay. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jackie's amazing. I love her videos. Okay. So Arturo, let me talk to you a little bit about Arturo first. Arturo Gotti, the senior, who you can see in the colored picture. Okay, he was a famous boxer out of New Jersey. He was like the real life Rocky. He really was. He was like the real life Rocky. He climbed, he's originally from Canada. He's French Canadian and Italian. And he came here to America and he immediately had, climbed the ladder and got success. And he became one of the most famous boxers of that time. This is like in the late 90s, early 2000s, okay? And he dated my sister-in-law, okay? And they had a child named Sophia, and that is Sophia in the picture that you see right now. She's my niece. I love her so much. She's beautiful and amazing, and my heart is broken for what has happened to her and to the Gotti family. So in 2009, well, let me backtrack a little bit. So after the relationship with my sister-in-law and Arturo didn't work out, he went on and met another girl, another woman, and he married that woman, and he had a son, Arturo Jr., which makes them brother and sister by blood. And he was not happy in that new marriage with this new woman after he had this baby, Arturo Jr., and he was looking to get out of it, okay? And he had a will already in place that was set up to take care of his entire family. I mean, he loved his mother. His mother lives in Canada. He had left money to his mother. He had left money to his brothers. He also had another brother, Joe, that was also had some success with boxing. So his will was solid. But what was happening is that the word is, at the time, is what I've understood from family, is that she would use the son as manipulation so that he wouldn't really leave her, okay? And he really wanted to leave her. And at one point, she convinced Arturo Sr. to take a trip to, I think it was the UK or London, and he said, I'll go on this trip to the UK, and I think it's the UK, I want to make sure, I'm pretty sure it was England, and we'll try to rekindle this relationship. But deep down inside, Arturo was like, no, I'm just doing this because I want to make peace with her and we can co-parent this boy as best we can together. So he goes on the trip, and while he's on that trip, he calls family at home and leaves voicemails for them saying, this is not working out. This is an absolute nightmare. I'll be home soon and I'm just going to go ahead and file for divorce. So he does come home at one point. And then she takes the little boy, Arturo Jr., and goes to her homeland of Brazil. And while she's in Brazil, she encourages Arturo Sr., hey, fly out here to Brazil and see me and all this. And he went out there because he was afraid for the fact that his son would never leave Brazil, because there were stories, another story was going around at that time where there was a little boy that went to Brazil and he could never, the other parent could never get their child back, okay? So he was worried that she would threaten to keep the boy. So he decided, I'm going to fly out there under the guise of a second honeymoon and then be able to leave at some point with the boy. So he flies out there, and while he's out there, he goes down to a restaurant to have dinner with the wife, and the little boy's in a stroller, okay? Arturo Jr.'s in a stroller. And a fight breaks out after some drinking went on, and Arturo was known to drink. And a fight breaks out between the two of them. And at one point, it spills out into the street. And while it's going on in the street, spectators are around seeing this, and they see it as if it's like abuse of the girl, of the woman. And they threw a bicycle at him and hit him in the back of the head, and he was bleeding a little bit in the back of the head. But she left the scene without the son, which I think is very, very weird and surprising. What mother, if he's so abusive, you wouldn't have like left your baby in the street with your abusive husband, right? You wouldn't have done that. But she gets into a cab and goes back to the resort that they're in, which is not really a resort. It's actually very slummy in Brazil. And what they consider a resort is really not a resort. So there was no security at this resort, no protection at all, you know. So she leaves and leaves him in the street, bleeding a little bit in the back of his head with Arturo Jr., the baby. He finally gets a taxi driver to take him and the baby back to the resort. And when he gets back into the resort, they had key cards. He keys in to get into the resort. Now, the story is, well, the next morning, she calls and says he's dead on the floor of underneath a breakfast bar. There's like a family room that kind of is like open to a kitchen, and he's laying there on the floor in a pool of blood. Okay. So with that said, the story she gives them is that she got back to the resort, checks into her room, and waits for Arturo to get back. Arturo comes back with Arturo Jr., the baby. He comes in, and she says that when he comes in the door, he says, you know, what does this all mean? Are you going to leave me? This is her story. And she said, yep, I'm done with you. That's it. And she goes upstairs with the baby to go to sleep and leaves him downstairs. She says that at some point in the wee hours of the morning, she gets up to go get a bottle, like warm a bottle for the baby. She comes down the steps. When she gets down the steps, he's laying there in a pool of blood. And she says that she sees him from her peripheral vision. And she just assumed, oh, he's drunk. She walks past him, goes to the refrigerator, warms up the bottle, and goes back upstairs. She gets back upstairs and goes back to sleep. And then around, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock a.m., she comes back downstairs. And then at that point, she realizes, oh, he's not, you know, he's in the same position. And then she gets a little closer, and then she calls and says, you know, help me, my husband, he's dead. And when they get there, they see a broken purse strap from her purse is laying on the floor next to him. So they're looking around, but no matter what, the initial reaction from the police was, this is not good. This looks like murder right here. You know what I mean? Because his head was underneath the breakfast bar, and there was blood spatter going up the breakfast bar. And apparently there was a pot of water boiling with his jewelry in it. Okay? So there's that. So she gets arrested for murder. Okay? And they throw her in jail for murder. And everyone's shocked about this. Well, 18 days later, they let her out. And they all of a sudden let her out and decide that, well, she is not a murderer. He died by suicide. So you would have to believe that Arturo Gotti, okay, famous boxer, okay, very strong, very built, took a purse strap and hung himself from the staircase of the resort condo and killed himself. So that's the story with him. What happened after that is a lot. And I won't, when I go and do interviews, when Sophia is ready to talk to me, his daughter, we will go into that a little more. And also my sister-in-law, I could easily interview my sister-in-law too. She has a lot of information about it. But so let's fast forward, okay? After Arturo Sr.'s death, there was investigations done by the U.S. that determined that he was murdered. But unfortunately, this happened in Brazil, and there was also a custody battle, and there was they contested the will, and the money ended up going to her. Now, my niece has no other motive to do any of this because she actually had her own situation settled when she was born. Arturo set her up with whatever she needed. So I just want to say that because Sophia has no motive here to, be angry and to, make up things or anything like that because she was taken care of. She was. She just genuinely wants to know what happened to her father. But now we thought nothing would ever happen. She's been free. This woman has been free with Arturo Jr. They lived in Canada for a while. She opened up a boutique. Arturo was going to schools. He had his own driver taking him to schools, Arturo Jr. And he started being interested in boxing and wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. And even trained with Mike Tyson and was being noticed as being very promising and having some of his father's heart. And this was, really great. Now, Sophia and Arturo Jr. were kept apart because the woman wants nothing to do with Sophia. So she would not allow brother and sister to talk at all. Okay. And there's lots of stuff on that as well. So now let's fast forward to now. So I think it was the Monday before last. At that time, Arturo was in Mexico living with his mother there. They had a really nice resort hotel apartment-like thing, okay, that they were living in. And he was training out there in Mexico. He went out the night before, and I don't have much detail about that. But then the next day, the news comes out that he is found dead. Now, the first initial reports said that he was hanging in an apartment just like his father, that he died by suicide and that he hung himself. Well, can you imagine the shock of my niece and the whole Gotti family when they're hearing this? I mean, it was absolutely insane. So we were trying to get more information. But they have spoken to police in Mexico, and now it was not a hanging. They're now calling it a homicide. So I am not going to go into any more detail than that because it's not my place to get into more details. I would rather have Sophia answer these questions when she feels ready to come on. But she is trying to find a way to transport his body from Mexico to Canada. And one of the reasons why people are saying to me, well, wouldn't that be his mother's job to do? Well, the mother, nobody knows where she is. And the police are saying that the death is suspicious. So the only person now that can come and claim him and try to initiate moving his body from Mexico to Canada so that he could be placed next to his father is Sophia, his daughter. So with that said, this is, even if you cannot donate to this, I'm asking you, screenshot this, share it. I'm going to put the GoFundMe link into the description of this video. It's also in the description of the other little short video I did. But please, this is the QR code. If you can't donate, it's okay. If you can, that's great. She is just trying to get enough funds for A, to transport the body for his services, also to investigate this case. And hopefully this will open up the door to even open her dad's case back up. Because that woman is the same woman that was with Junior. And 16 years ago was the same woman present for Arturo Sr. when this death happened. And we're just asking that you help if you can. Even just sharing it on your social media would be really awesome. A lot of people, especially guys, men, know who Arturo is, Arturo Thunder Gotti, and it's just a matter of getting YouTube to show this video. Because Arturo Gotti Jr., it might not get as many clicks as something like Donna Adelson or Wendy Adelson. So I'm just trying to get the word out there so that people can see this and they can support my niece as best they can. So that is all I have for you today. And I'm so thankful for you guys, for all the support you're giving my channel. And if you can provide any support for this amazing cause for my niece so that we could find out what really happened to both of them, because now she's without her brother and her dad. And it's just heartbreaking for me. And she's like the strongest young lady that I know at this point. Like, just, you know, for her to, and she's doing, just so you all know, she was raised very protected from all of this. She has a great family, and I'm not boasting about me. It has nothing to do with me. I mean, her immediate family, her mom, and just, you know, the way she's been raised to be protected from the darkness of this story of her dad. It's just really crazy. It really is. So, I'm just thankful, because I really don't think she'd be here right now if she had, I don't know, if she had mingled with those people. I just don't think she would be here right now, because that woman could not stand my niece. She was a thorn in her side. So I'm just thankful that Sophia's here. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being with me today. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Just want to make sure I don't have anything here I'm supposed to address. How we doing, moderators? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I just so appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Make sure you sub, like, and share the page. And I will see you next time. Bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.